Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The borders of space and time have opened once again. And transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you. Wake up and remember.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, we're stepping into the front lines of spiritual warfare. Our guest is a Reverend within the Sacred Order of St. Michael and Our Lady of the Divine Mercy Anglican Church, serving as an exorcist with his career spanning decades in paranormal research and demonology. All this plus more. Please welcome our new friend and first-time guest, Reverend Dan Todd. Reverend Todd, welcome to Let's Find Out.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm very thankful to have you here, Reverend, because what an interesting life you have lived. And I always like to start things with how someone got this kind of a calling. What happened in your life that you chose this path? Because sometimes paths are chosen for you in a way. I don't think you kind of stumbled into this. So if we go back to the Wayback Machine, did you ever imagine your career would lead you to the front lines of demonology and spiritual warfare?
Honestly, I don't know, to be honest with you. I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, CCD. I went to CCD. My mother was kind of actually pushing me to be a priest at one point, but I didn't want to. So she's probably jumping around in heaven right now. But this kind of just fell into my lap. It was more of one night I got a call about a case, and I went out to it. And it was one of those phone calls where like there's something wrong. You could hear it in the person's voice. And so my first visit out there, the demon came out. I started talking about the church and stuff, and I guess you would call that. I guess today I would call it religious provocation, but back then I didn't really know. I was just an investigator, and I was just coming back off of a year and a half break because my son was born, and there were some other issues that I was having with people, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I just decided to take a break, and then when I came back is when I got this. So that was about 20. Probably be end of 2019, 2020, because it was around COVID was when this started. So after that exorcism, that was my first, which I didn't perform it. Somebody else did. I tried to get the Roman Catholic Church involved, and they wouldn't touch it. Why, I don't know. So I had to reach out to friends and deal with it that way. So at that point, I decided I'm going to start studying demonology, and in case I ever run into this again. And in the course of my studies and searching, the Order of Exorcists website popped up, and I talked to Archbishop Enright via video call, and he allowed me to join as an investigator. So I started there as an investigator and worked my way up to demonologist, and then as well as I was doing seminary as well. And here I am today.
And with that, because I'm curious, because depending on who you ask, I don't know if the rules have changed. Because normally, in order to, and I'm going to use generic terms and forgive my ignorance, when I'm going to say a church or a sect decides they're going to go down this route where the spiritual warfare route in demonology and casting out demons, at one point, I don't know if it's still today, you had to make a plea, or you had to ask the Vatican and get their blessing to do this, and then you can continue to do this. Is that still the same thing now? Has there been some sort of has anything changed since that?
Each denomination has their own set of rules. So the Order of Exorcists is an old Catholic order, which means that we are not under the Vatican. We do things the Roman Catholic way as far as the rite goes, but as well as the same with the Anglican Church as well. We do things the way the Roman Catholic Church does it because it's been the model for 2,000 years. So, but everybody has their own way of doing things, but in order, usually in the Roman Catholic Church, the Old Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, you are asked by your bishop to be the exorcist, whether that be for one case or just be the permanent exorcist. That varies, but you're generally asked. It's not like a lot of these Protestant churches where everybody's a deliverance minister and they think they're casting out demons when they're really not.
Okay, and that's very interesting what you say there. Now, I come from the Protestant side of things. I went to, when I started my first steps in Christianity, it was a non-denominational church, but if you really want to peel it back, it's pretty much a Pentecostal church. Evangelism, and they were really, it's one of the things where, and I know that there's a whole different things between Protestants and Catholicism, but we have a lot more common than we have as far as what we disagree with. But they're very big on deliverance and spiritual warfare, talk about casting out demons, but a lot of these things, they're not always demons. It's got to be something else. What is it that what do we got to look out for? Because we say maybe how many percentage of these cases are actually demons and not just something else?
So an actual demonic possession is rare. I mean, very rare. It's you're probably looking at hitting the lottery twice before you'll be possessed. So I'm going to say like 1 in every 100 cases, 200 cases is an actual possession. The difference between and I'm not trying to piss anybody off here or bash any church or anything like that, but in my experience with some of these Protestant churches is I have had people come to me after going to these Protestant churches that they're more of say a couple deliverance prayers, tell the demon to leave, and you're done. I mean, I don't know if you know who Bob Larson is.
Yes.
Okay, so Bob Larson is one of those people. In fact, he's not very well in our side of the church. He's not very well respected. In fact, I just did a video on my show, Battle Tested, with Reverend Dan, where I looked at his website, and now I think he's charging $1,300 for a 2-hour session, in-person session with him. So if you're on like the East Coast, like we are, so that $1,300 becomes more like $3,000 to $5,000 by the time you get there, because you're looking at travel expenses, plane tickets, round trip, hotel, car, and forever how long you're ever there too, and so it could be even upwards of that. But are they really casting out demons? No, they're not. They may be casting out an impression or something like that, or think they're doing that. But as far as a demon goes, if someone was really demon possessed, you're going to know it. Okay. I mean, you're going to, forgive my language, but you're going to basically crap your pants.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you're going to feel it. It's pure evil. They're and it could come back on you tenfold too. It says in the Bible, Matthew 12, where the demon goes out, gets cast out, looks for a new home. And obviously, I'm paraphrasing. Well, looks for a new home, comes back to the host, finds it empty because they didn't fill that space with God, and comes back 7 times worse than itself. With 7 more worse than itself. Anytime one of these Charles Boston casts out a demon, or quote unquote casts out a demon, if there is one there and it is cast out, it comes back. because most of these people just go in and do that. Now there are some of these other deliverance churches that have been found to have the same people going to different locations for whatever their services are, their mass deliverances, and it's the same person in, let's say, in Jersey that is in Tennessee. So they're paying people to do this. So they're making deliverance ministry and exorcism ministry look bad, just because there's, they want money or they want fame and fortune and stuff like that. Deliverance, the spiritual warfare is not a way to make money. It's not. And anybody that does, the Bible says freely give, freely receive. Anybody that does, you're not helping. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all like donations and stuff like that. But when you're charging somebody $1,300 for a 2-hour session, it's a problem.
Yeah, no worries on that. So I'm gonna put aside the all about him because I don't need him calling me and get angry at me. Let's we're to stay in the same theme here.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that unfortunately that I've always point out, at least on the Protestant side, and it happens outside of that as well, where a person, a minister or an evangelist, a pastor, starts gaining some sort of popularity. And I think it kind of sometimes corrupts what they're trying to do. And you can kind of see it becomes more of a business. And it's kind of back in my days in the 80s. You probably remember that in the 80s, that was the golden age of the televangelists. They were selling prayer cloths. Yep. They were selling whatever kind of tchotchke, and then they'll pray over it and then, pay them this, whatever. Eventually, they all get caught with their pants down. And then there's the other side of this as well, where it is happening to this day. I call them, I didn't trademark this, somebody will, and so I'm sure somebody else calls them. I call them prophecy pimps, where they have these presentations and they're making money off of these conventions. And then every time there's always a different prophecy. We had it, 5, 10, 15 years ago, a blood moon. Everybody's crapping their pants about a blood moon. The books came out. They're making money and nothing happens. So that's, as far as I'm going to get into that, because it hurts my heart seeing these kind of things. But if we just draw it back to Christ, or the original purpose of what we're trying to do here, you're going to be okay. I got off on a little tangent, but I wanted to say that because it's kind of similar to what you were just saying, there. So now
going back to that, you have everybody telling, putting hands on you and praying over you and this and that. If, even those that prophesy over you, quote unquote, if these people are coming up to you and want to put hands on you, don't let them, because you don't know what they're putting into you. I had a case one time where we walked in, and within literally, we still had our bags in our hand. Not even 5 minutes in, the demon came out. Okay, she became possessed through Reiki. The Reiki practitioner was a Satanist, and she was taking good energy, and putting the bad energy in. Taking the good energy out, and putting the bad energy in, the satanic energy in, and that's how she got possessed. Luckily, it wasn't that bad to where it took a while. It took maybe about a month to free her, but we did finally cast out the demon and all that. So you don't know who's doing what these days. In fact, one of my teammates went up to Salem with his wife for I guess a vacation, and they decided she wanted to go see the Satanic Temple because that's where their headquarters is. The girl that opened the door, he said, you would never know that she was a Satanist. She just looked like a normal person, like you or I. And she singled him out. Okay. Now there was like 20 other people there, including his wife, but she singled him out and asked him if he was a Catholic. And so just food for thought there.
Yeah. And I know that, and I think maybe it's a conversation you could have offline, maybe, because I think we're going to get real deep in here, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings, not yours or mine, but people who will be listening to the show, our friends, the listeners, or their friends, because
I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here. That's not what we're about, but I am going to tell the truth.
Of course. And now, in this universe that you're in, I consider this to be a very dangerous thing to do because not only can you get physical harm from this, but maybe you can also get spiritual harm. These things can follow you back home, or they can probably mess with people in your family or your friends or anything like that. Now,
Mhm.
how do you protect yourself from not only these things latching on to you, but maybe coming back home with you?
Prayer. My house, my house is blessed. I bless my house every year. Well, I bless my house every Epiphany. Okay, as well as I throw a few other blessings my house's way throughout the year, depending on what's going on. My property is blessed. My vehicles are blessed, um, and stuff. The best way to combat this is prayer. The rosary, pray the rosary. You should be praying the rosary every day. Um, the Divine Mercy Chaplet. That's they hate it. Pray and pray. I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to give 15 minutes to God a day. The rosary itself takes 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So right there, you know, I mean, protection, everybody has their own way of doing it. My way is I pray. I pray 7 times a day. Okay. And whether it be while I'm at work, because I do have a secular job, because I don't make any money off of this. So I do go to work. I'll pray at work when I get time, or as I drive a truck. So my one prayer regiment is on my phone, so I can play it over the radio and pray along with it. But the best way to do is have your house blessed, have yourself blessed. Go to church as well. Go to a mass, receive the sacraments. If you're not baptized, get baptized. Baptize your children. Because baptism is the ultimate way to protect them. Every child, we're all born with original sin. If you're not baptized, you belong to the devil. So it's not hard, and it really isn't. Just pray your rosary every day. Pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet 3:00 every day. Follow. Go to church, receive the sacraments. I mean, it's not hard. That's the best way to do it.
And it does seem pretty simple. If yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, they like to hide in the basements or because it's warm now inside the house.
Yeah.
Now, with being along those same lines, because now we have, and I'm going to say within the last 10 to 15 years in the secular world, the entertainment industry has been, I mean, in a way, they've always been interested in this type of subjects, but it seems like it's increasing
Yeah.
this this love affair they're having with Satan, with dark forces, with, I'll say, satanic imagery. It used to be just like in the 80s, was 70s and 80s, it was all heavy metal, but now it's crossed over into mainstream. We're talking movies, we're talking even pop stars, rap artists. Pop culture has very interesting depiction of how these things would look like. I've never seen one. I've never been around a demon. Maybe I have, and I don't know. Tell you the truth.
Chances are you probably have.
Yeah. And so, what is
Well, you
their
want to
true
see
form?
you want to see a demon? Look at Taylor Swift.
I mean, I don't want to go down that direction, but I can name several artists that they're kind of
Yeah.
messing with some
So can I.
interesting things.
Most, in fact,
Um,
most are. Most are. They give themselves over to Satan for fame and fortune. And a lot of people do that. But what they don't realize is he's gonna collect. Look at John Lennon. 20 or 30 years to the day that he made the deal, he was dead. So it's prevalent. It's out there. Hollywood itself. I'm gonna go in the direction of the Pope's exorcist. Okay. I didn't know Father Gabriel Amorth, but I can guarantee you that he was probably rolling over in his grave when that movie came out. Okay. Because I knew enough about him to know that he did not drink and carry a flask with him to each case. The way they did that movie is just terrible. It's garbage. And I was very disappointed with that. But if you really want to know what demonic possession looks like, okay, Nefarious, the movie Nefarious, is probably the closest thing Hollywood ever got to an actual possession. Because most times it's not about the what you're seeing. It's about the psychology. They mess with your psyche and all that. So that the movie Nefarious hit the nail on the head. The second movie I would probably say is the best one would be The Rite with Anthony Hopkins. They did do their homework on that. I think it was Father Gary Thomas that movie's about and stuff. So, I mean, those two movies are probably the best movies to. I don't want to say get information from, but they're the best to get an idea of what it's like.
Yeah, get a small glimpse of what it could possibly look like.
Yeah.
And, because Hollywood's interesting because anytime they put out a movie about a historical figure, usually pretty wrong. Like a guy did a thing, yeah, but everything in between the dialogues is all malarkey. And I could possibly name some movies. Braveheart was one of them, kind of similar to what really happened, but we all know down the road that's not quite how it happened, but that's fine by me. With these spirits, have you ever seen their true form?
What do you mean, like they materialize in front of me?
Yes.
Outside of shadow figures, not really. They don't like me when they don't like it when I'm around. My team, I actually can't do so my team, when we get a case, I have paranormal investigators that go in and they investigate the case, and stuff. So when that happens, I can't do that because I actually influence the investigation. When I'm there, we get nothing. When I'm not there, everything happens. So I don't really get involved until I have to. Have I seen it? I mean, I haven't seen, Satan standing in front of me. But I have seen shadow figures move. I have, in fact, one time, this is when I first getting started. I was at a case. Do you know Blair State Park in New Jersey?
I'm not familiar now.
Okay, so down in South Jersey, towards the shore, there's a park called the Blair State Park. Well, there was an old insane asylum. What was the name of it? I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, it was an old insane asylum, and it's right across the street from the park entrance. Okay. It's been abandoned for years. People have gone in there and done satanic rituals. Anybody that knows in the south of New Jersey knows about the Jersey Devil and all that, and how there's satanic cults down there and stuff like that. So there have been. Now I didn't go in here. But this girl that called me did. She said there was a pentagram on the floor. People were doing rituals there. Luckily, we didn't have to do an exorcism on her. Thank God. But they're out there, and I lost track of what I was going to say. I'm talking about them, and they don't want me to talk about it.
No, that's completely normal. This happened before in different episodes. Yeah. So, well, let me bring, since we're on the trail here. You spoke about when you go to these locations, activity stops, but when you leave, it goes back because they know you. And I know we're not supposed to mention their names, because we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. I'm gonna call one. Let me call this one Fred. Not trying to be a joke, but I'm gonna call this demon Fred, right?
Okay.
You've gone to hundreds of locations. You've done investigations. Have you run into this Fred in different locations? Like you go there, like, oh, here we go, the Reverend's back.
Not. Yeah, probably. Not that I've actually noticed. Lately, anyway. In previous years, I have had things follow me. I've actually even had a partial possession myself. But yeah, they do show up every once in a while in different cases. If it's not a full-on possession, it's more of like a transient possession. They have a little bit more freedom where they can kind of go around and different things. I mean, can they bilocate? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody can answer that question truthfully. There is speculation. Some say yes, some say no. I mean, the only ones that I know of that can bilocate are like Padre Pio. Okay, where that's been proven. As far as demons go, I don't know. But they'll say that, the weaker ones will say that they're Satan, they're Lucifer, and I only use those two because those are the most that are their names are used the most. But so I could have one person or two people with the same demon, same name. So yes, Fred can theoretically be in two people at the same time.
That makes sense. Because it is, in my understanding, and I'm probably incorrect, but these demons, they're not present everywhere. They're not like God, but God's everywhere at the same time. But they travel quickly between folks, is what I'm.
Yes. They are. So a demon is a fallen angel. Okay. So back before God created the world, there was a big fight in Genesis. Was it Genesis 2? I think I have a hard time remembering the actual numbers, but in Genesis, the big fight, Saint Michael casts Lucifer out of heaven and begins his reign on earth. So then he goes into the garden, tricks Adam and Eve, and here we are today. So they can do that.
With Satan, Lucifer, whatever other name that he's been given or it's been given, there's a distinction between the power of God and the power of Satan.
Yes. Okay.
And how much power can these demons have, or Satan himself have? Because it's not equal to the Creator.
They still have their angelic powers. So the only thing that changed is that they were just cast out of heaven, and into hell. When it comes to God, they still have to listen to him. They still have to obey him. It's not like they're cast out of hell. Now they can do whatever they want. No, they can't. They still have rules to follow. So one of those rules is they cannot kill people. Everybody, I get them all the time. I'm sure every other exorcist or demonologist gets it all the time too. Oh, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. They cannot kill you. Okay, they can influence you to kill yourself. They can influence somebody else to kill you, but they cannot kill you. And stuff. So they will do their best to get you to pull away from God, and they will use their angelic powers. But they may throw something at you. They may scratch you. I mean, I've been scratched plenty of times. I've had things thrown at me. I've been pushed. I've been shoved. I've been smacked. I've had them run their claws through my hair and stuff when I had hair.
I get it.
You know, so they can do pretty much anything aside from breaking the rules that God set for them. Now, if you know the book of Job, Lucifer went to God and asked God to, I'm loosely translating, can I afflict Job and, test Job? And God said, yes, you can. And the story of Job, Job loses his house, he loses his farm, his animals, his family, but he gains everything back in the end and tenfold. So that's just that's probably the best example I can give of what they can do. But Lucifer did not kill his family. His family was in the house when it collapsed, and that's what killed him.
So he kind of pulled an old lawyer trick, where he just enough to follow the rules and twist it to his advantage. And well, look, and then going with that, because we were talking about the pop stars, how they make these deals, Faustian bargain, if you will.
Yes.
Can they break this deal without repercussions?
Yes. They would have to have an exorcism or many exorcisms done. Now, when it comes to deals, okay, everybody thinks of, Satan walking up with the contract and you signing a contract and stuff like that. Well, you can't sell your soul. Your soul does not belong to you. Your soul belongs to God. But because demons are like lawyers from hell, so you did sign that contract, they're gonna hold you to it. I heard a story from a Roman Catholic exorcist about a girl in New York City. She and it's all over the internet. You can look it up too. She was in Juilliard for music. I think she played the violin. She was about to graduate. All her friends were getting jobs and scholarships and record deals and all that, and she wasn't. And she said that she would do anything to get one. And well, God's not the only one listening on the frequency. Mm-hmm. So that night, she said this man showed up, the hottest, cutest guy she's ever met, showed up, produced a contract, sliced her finger. She signed it in blood. And then the contract burst into flames. The next morning, she woke up thinking it was a dream until she looked down at her from her bed and saw the ash from the contract that burned up. So things were going fine for a few years. She got, she made some money and all that. And then she got into drugs, became HIV positive, and now is dying in a New York hospital. So her mother found out, called the chancery, and said that they needed an exorcist. So the exorcist went to the hospital, and he didn't do an actual rite. What he had her do was write out the Apostles' Creed and sign it in her blood. Well, the doctor didn't like that because she was HIV positive. But when she signed the Apostles' Creed that she wrote out in her blood, she died. She died. And I don't remember the time frame between the time she died and the time she reanimated, the time she came back to life. But she came back to life, AIDS free.
Well, mate, that is like the best Lazarus resurrection story ever, because that is amazing. And of course, medicine will never be able to explain a miracle like that.
No. And this is documented too. It's documented through, I think, the Archdiocese of New York.
Because when you told me the Job story, Here's a person that chose to stay on the right path, and no matter how many chances he got out, his friends
Mhm.
told him, "Hey, man," his wife told him. He's like, "No, I'm going to keep the course." Some people just freely give it
Yep.
just to gain, you know, money or fame, but it's only temporal. It doesn't last very long because
No.
eventually, like you said, he comes to collect.
Yep. And people always ask me, why does a good God allow bad things to happen? He allows these things to happen to bring you for the greater good. You know, you want to see a Satanist, do a 360 and come back to God. They're the most religious person out there. They're the most devout person out there. What, because who wants to be possessed? Nobody does. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. There are Satanists out there that want to be possessed, but a normal thinking human being does not want to be possessed. It's torment. I mean, I see people all the time. The person I was talking about earlier, where I was in there 5 minutes. She was a lawyer. You know, her her house was immaculate before all this, and then she just stopped caring and just like started circling the drain and stuff. And when that happens, seek help. If you're a family member, if your family member is doing this, you notice this happening to your family member, seek help. Call the church. Get in touch with us. The Order of Exorcists is worldwide. We're everywhere. You can contact us through our website, Our Lady of Divine Mercy AC.net, or the Order of Exorcists, orderofexorcists.com. And somebody will contact you. But I mean, if you see this happening, or even feel this, if this is happening, contact us and we'll walk you through the steps.
And now that we're in 2026, and you just gave us the information how to contact you and the church in case they run into some troubles,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to be doing any investigations this year? And I'm not just talking about deliverance or casting out demons or anything like that. Are you going to be doing any speaking engagements, any presentations?
Yes. I think I have one in March in Booton. I'd have to look up the date. I don't have the date. I have to update the website as well. And then the Hollow Paracon I will be at. Let me see. Let me look up the date here. Gotta find it. That's not it. Facebook. Here it is. I will be at the Hollow Paracon and Film Fest August 22nd. It's a Saturday from 11 to 5 at Stockton University this year. You can look up information on Facebook. I believe it's the Hollow. If not, you can look at my pages too. It'll be posted there as well. But I know I have one in March. Let me just look at the date. I think it's March 13th. Nope, it's not March 13th. Did I not write it down in this calendar? No, I think it's in my other calendar. I want to say it's March 13th, but I don't think that's right. But I know it's definitely in March. But that'll be at the Booton Elks at 7 p.m. It's called Freaky Fridays. And it's our case manager and her partner run it. And they're all over. They do investigations at the Booton Elks and talks. And in fact, that's where the Hollow Paracon was born, at the Booton Elks. But I will be, and as well as you can find me on YouTube as well. I do things on YouTube. My both pages. One is the church page, is at Divine Mercy 65, and the other is at Reverend Dan Todd. As well as I do have a monthly deliverance session. I do as well, which this month it'll be the 21st at 6:30 p.m. I think that's a Saturday. Yes, that's a Saturday. At 6:30 p.m. we start with the rosary, and then 7 p.m. we start with the deliverance session.
And all the links to how to contact you and your socials will be on the show descriptions once I release this episode. And before I go, because I'm always very curious, I'm going to ask this question because it's this topic, and I can't speak on the Catholic side, but I'll speak on the Protestant side, where the topics of UFOs, cryptids, paranormal have become kind of a thing now, a very hot topic, very hot subject within the circles of Christianity, at least on the Protestant side. Where does the Catholic Church, in your opinion, fall on the topics of ufology or cryptids when it comes to things like a Bigfoot, or we say something like Jersey Devil, things like that?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, I know, the Catholic Church believes that all ghosts and stuff are demonic, which can be true. In fact, I would say 98, 99% of the time it is true. But I have heard speculation about aliens being demons being aliens, and I don't think nobody knows. I think it's one of those things where nobody knows for sure. Everybody has their own opinion and stuff. Everybody has their own belief. In fact, the Jersey Devil itself, I was filming for a TV show, Mysteries Decoded. This is 2019, 2021, somewhere. I think it might have been after COVID. Not far from COVID, but and they were doing an episode on the Jersey Devil. So they asked me to go down, and they wanted me to do an exorcism, and I had to do some research into the actual Jersey Devil to see what I was dealing with, because I wasn't going to do an exorcism without knowing what I was dealing with. So in my research into that, and I didn't go too deep into it, I just wanted to know the basics. But what I found was that none of the stories that are really published actually line up with the timelines. The only one I found that actually lined up with the timelines were Ben Franklin and I don't remember the father's name, but Father Leeds. They were living in about the same time, and they did not get along with each other. Now, Ben Franklin was a member of the Hellfire Club, and anybody who knows the Hellfire Club knows that they're basically Satanists, that they cast spells on people and things like that. Now, I can't prove this, but I think that Ben Franklin had something to do with the Jersey Devil and the whole story, if it is true. I don't know if it's true or not. I can't prove it. But if that's the case, that would be my my guess as to how that whole story happened.
That's amazing. And I'm going to look into this more. You just said right now, so to keep me awake till 3 a.m. So I'm going to be looking into this, Reverend, and I really appreciate you being on. Let's find out. And if you don't mind, I know you're going to be very busy this year. Mm-hmm. We're in a lot of cases doing the conventions. You're going to be doing presentations. Would you come back on the show? Let's set up for later this year. Let's talk about what you found, new things you've learned, and then let's talk about it right here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We could be a Halloween special.
Absolutely. Thank you, Reverend Todd.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.
Embrace the spirit of adventure as you join us on this daring journey through the untamed wilderness of Diego the Podcaster's bonus Overdrive Wednesday. Real people, real stories, really on Wednesday. Available now on YouTube Music.